Hey guys, so today I'm with Anna, our guest. She's from PopBoutique, which is a project that was launched by students from the community of Maastricht of the university, basically. And yeah, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, so I'm Anna. I'm 22 years old and I'm from Germany. And I'm right now at, yeah, basically my fourth year at SBE. I study IB with specialization on emerging markets. And yeah, in 2020, we created Pop Boutique with a couple of friends.
All right.
And yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. And yeah, I wanted to know so how the idea came to birth.
Mhm.
Why did you guys thought about creating this project? How did it begin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, I don't know how familiar you are with the topic, but in 2020 there were fires in the camps of Moria
Right.
on
Yeah.
the island of Lesbos, so in the refugee camps there. And in general, there was a lot of media about the conditions there, and I was quite active in yeah, sort of educating myself about the topic and donating, raising
Mm-hmm.
awareness, and these things. But I did feel like I want to contribute a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah. Like actively participating in something, right? Instead of
exactly,
just being like detached. Yeah.
exactly. So actively speaking about the topic,
Mm.
but also contributing in like in that way, a financial way as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then I thought to myself, well, how can you make that? Because it was COVID too.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, what is a creative way to fundraising that people
Mm-hmm.
will want to engage? And then at the same time, I was very passionate about like slow fashion, vintage clothing,
Okay.
secondhand clothing. So I was
Right.
like, okay, let's combine the ideas and fundraise through selling secondhand
Right.
clothes online.
So you and your friends had kind of the same values, or you shared kind of the same ideas regarding, for example, I don't know, maybe the fast fashion industry, and so you thought that actively participating in this way would be kind of, yeah, something more
Yeah,
than the others, maybe.
exactly. So basically, I also told my friends about the idea, and then
Mm-hmm.
everyone was like, "Yeah, let's go. It's a nice idea."
Oh, wow.
And I think it's yeah, we thought it's quite doable,
Right.
because
Yeah.
we just do it on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, combining different fields and launching this project. And yeah, also I was wondering if you guys encountered any difficulties maybe at first. So can you tell me maybe more
Mhm.
about this?
Yeah, so basically, I think the biggest difficulty that we had was that like finding the right NGO to donate to.
All right.
Because so at first we wanted to actually donate to an NGO working in the Moria camp on Lesbos. But then we did research on NGOs that we could possibly partner with, and we found like we couldn't really find a transparent NGO because there's
Really?
also a lot of sort of illegal
Mm-hmm.
activity going on and NGOs that aren't actually NGOs.
Oh, okay,
So
yeah.
there's a big transparency issue.
Mm-hmm.
So then we have a lot of Greek people also in our founding team that
Mm.
know the situation
All
quite
right.
well. So they said, hey guys, let's look at Samos, which is another
Mm-hmm.
island where there's one of these hotspot camps where the conditions are really, really
Mm-hmm.
extreme as well. But nobody was really talking about that
Okay.
at the time. It was very focused on Moria, whereas other camps are
Okay.
having the same
So maybe
conditions.
because it was the biggest camp, Molia, or
Yeah, I think it was the biggest, and it
okay,
was just that this one got the most media attention.
of course.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so there's 5 islands, I think, where there
Mm-hmm.
are camps,
Mm-hmm.
which all are overcapacitated and extreme conditions are. So yeah, basically we said, okay, let's focus on Samos and raise awareness on it because there's just not as much coverage on the conditions
Mm-hmm.
there. Um, and we also found a very transparent and reliable NGO, Samos Volunteers,
All right.
which
Okay.
we love, and we have a great partnership with them now. But I think that was one of our biggest challenges to, in starting
Find
up.
the on a suitable organization, right?
Exactly. Finding a
Okay.
trustworthy organization
So
that is transparent.
so basically they're volunteers in the camp, right?
Yes,
That's the objective. So helping them financially. So and afterwards, yeah, they are directly on the ground in the camp.
exactly.
Okay.
So what
Mhm.
they do is they provide education
Mhm.
and hygiene services and psychosocial support. So they have language classes, for
Okay.
example. Then they have like a laundry service, so they collect the clothes of the refugees and they
Mm.
wash them. And
Oh.
then the psychosocial part is like a bunch of different activities. They have like a
Mhm.
women's center where they have activities for women, because there's also a lot of gender-based violence in the camps.
All right.
So they create a safe space for the women.
Mhm. Okay.
And then they also have just other activities like music classes and sports and yoga classes
Okay.
and these
Oh, it's amazing.
things.
So
Yeah.
they're really kind of touching upon a lot of things.
Yes,
And
exactly.
yeah, I mean, as you told me, from what I understood, that the living conditions of the refugees are kind of not the best,
Yeah.
right? Even if we're talking about the EU, so this is quite surprising for me and I guess for the others that are listening. So can you maybe tell me more about those living conditions
Hmm.
from what you've heard?
Yeah. So the problem is that with basically the regulations that we have right now
Mm-hmm.
regarding asylum seekers that come to the EU,
All right.
it's basically that they need to stay in the first place where they arrive
Okay, so
in the
Greece
EU,
in this case,
which
right?
is Greece, because these islands, so Samos, Lesbos,
Mm-hmm.
and the other ones, they are right in front of the Turkish border.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, this is, yeah, sort of the deal that they need to stay there um, until their asylum application has been processed, right?
Okay.
And they're not allowed to move anywhere further. Now, the problem is that these processes take a really long time,
Mm-hmm.
and these camps are designed for just maybe a couple days or weeks
Really?
even, and
Oh
then
my
people
God.
stay there
Okay.
for years sometimes because it's just very
Because of the
slow.
formalities that are quite slow.
Exactly.
All right.
And yeah, and so basically then again, Greece is not really equipped to host all these people. So kind of that role falls, and with this regulation falls onto a country that doesn't really have the
Mm.
capacity to do this. And so the living conditions are basically that people live in tents.
Oh.
Um,
Okay.
They have no hygiene services really.
Mm.
And they're also very, like what they do with these refugee camps is usually they put them in very secluded areas, which is very far away
Yeah, so
from
that no one
everything.
knows in some way, right?
Exactly.
Or
Because also it's a very difficult issue, because also in Greece then you have a lot of polarization around this issue of
mm-hmm.
Greek people that are saying basically, so why are you caring so much for these refugees when we as a population
Right.
are suffering, which is
Okay.
also,
And maybe they're blaming everything on kind of Brussels or yeah, I mean, I don't know much about the political events right now in Greece, but maybe there's kind of some Euroscepticism about it or blaming the government for having to take care of those people, right?
yeah,
Mm.
exactly. So there's a lot of issues surrounding this topic, a lot of xenophobia,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so all these things sort of
Combined
yeah,
together,
and
yeah.
then again, a lot of refugees are of course struggling from psychological issues such as like PTSD, post-traumatic stress
Right.
disorders, and depression, because of the traumatic events that they have been gone
Mm.
that they went through.
Of their
And
treatment, I guess, in general.
yeah, so the journey, and then also the situation in the camp, and also being, like not being able to work. So you're not allowed to work or do anything really. So
Mm.
you just kind of sit
You're just
around.
waiting, right? That's the problem.
Exactly.
So maybe they don't even know why they're here anymore, and they don't have, as you said, the legal right to work. So this is quite problematic,
Yes,
and the formalities are quite slow.
exactly.
So yeah, frustrating. I guess it must be very frustrating for the people. I mean, on the ground,
Yeah.
helping out, and yeah, and also for the refugees.
Yeah. The nice thing is about Samos volunteers is that because of that reason that
Mm-hmm.
people are not allowed to work. A lot of the volunteers are refugees themselves that live in the camp.
Okay.
So they sort of help out with the laundry service, or they
Mm-hmm.
even give language classes
All right.
to other refugees.
Oh,
It's
amazing.
really nice. There's some nice videos on SOFASoS Volunteers website where also
Okay.
refugees that went through these classes themselves and are now basically teaching them, and they're really
That's
happy about
amazing.
it, you know.
Okay, so yeah, you guys can check it out.
Yeah, check out
Sama's
their
volunteer
website.
website. Okay,
Yeah.
that's nice. And also, I mean, I had another question more related to, I mean, the Maastricht community in some way. So here, I wanted to know how did the Maastricht community respond to the project? Are they supportive, or maybe even the university? Or yeah, can you tell me maybe more about it?
Yeah, so I feel like the Maastricht community is very supportive.
Mm-hmm.
When we started, it was directly quite a success, I want to say. So people
Nice.
were
Yeah,
very
yeah.
excited about it.
Mm.
And also, when we do interact with people that buy clothes from us, we always get really nice feedback about, yeah, that people say, "Oh, thank you so much for doing this," and
Mm.
it's great what you're doing. I love your
Yeah.
idea, and
Yeah,
this is
it's
a
very
very nice,
innovating, honestly. Yeah, it's something that not much people do. I mean, actively participating in something like this. So, yeah, it touches upon many things, and also, of course, sustainability as a whole. So, maybe avoiding fast fashion.
yeah,
And that was quite, I mean, that was something that impressed me a lot, the fact that you guys are touching upon many different spheres.
yeah,
And yeah, so. I guess, yeah, as you said, the community did respond in a good way, right?
yeah,
Mm,
definitely.
I'm glad. I'm glad. And also, I wanted to know, I had some maybe also some like general questions
Hmm.
regarding the fast fashion industry. So, do you think in general that maybe our generation is gonna change something about the way of living regarding, of course, fast fashion? That, I mean, everyone knows about it, everyone buys a lot of clothes. Do you think the trend is going to change in the next few decades regarding fast fashion, or are you pessimistic, optimistic?
I really hope it does. I mean, there are a lot of things that are not going well with our like the way that we consume. But I do think that our generation is really starting to make a change,
Mm-hmm.
um, because I feel like buying secondhand has become a big thing,
Right.
especially among students.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then also things like maybe clothes swapping,
Mm-hmm.
or also in general buying more consciously.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think these things
So
are
maybe
really
less as well.
buying less, buying more quality items that last longer.
Yeah, maybe local products. That's what I've seen. That
Exactly.
some new startups or new companies are surging. That, yeah, basically they sell local handmade products,
Yeah.
which is nothing related to the fact that you're buying a T-shirt which comes from
Yeah.
Bangladesh, for example, where you know that the working condition, I mean, the working conditions there might not be the same as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah, but I'm still like with fast fashion, it's still like such a big issue because these are such big corporations which are
Mm-hmm.
basically bringing out, I don't know, Zara is bringing out, I don't know how many collections each year. And also Shein is
Right.
like, they are, I just read recently, they are posting, I think, 1,000 new items a day.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically what they do is they see how successful these are, and then basically they just continue the ones that are successful, but basically they're just like producing more and more and more
Mm-hmm.
and
And also
designing new.
something relevant about it is the fact that, of course, they produce a lot, as you said, but also they don't sell enough. So you have unsold products which are
Exactly.
just thrown away.
Yeah,
And this is quite problematic, of course, because
exactly.
it's such a huge percentage that it's just unbelievable, honestly.
Exactly. And also, what a lot of companies do is, I don't know which exact ones, but to when people send clothes back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just like reselling them, right, and sending it to someone else and repackaging it, they just throw it away because that's cheaper for them to do than actually going through the process of like repacking it,
Yeah, or
basically.
even, of course, they're not thinking about giving them out to people who might need them, right?
Exactly.
This is also problematic that, of course, everything is thrown away. And
Exactly.
yeah, of course, it's a shame. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think it's still a big issue, and I feel like we need to spread this movement more around fast fashion, because basically we are, as consumers, driving these companies that are doing these things. And
Of course, we're contributing. I mean, indirectly or directly, but we're
exactly.
contributing, right?
Exactly. And I mean, you do see, for example, H&M trying to be more sustainable. But then again, as a consumer, it's also always hard. Okay, what is greenwashing and what is truly right? Like their efforts of becoming more sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
But I do hope that by exerting pressure as consumers, we can make a change. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. So, okay. And my last question would be, yeah, more about, I mean, you already told us quite a lot about your project, but in general, what are maybe the main values that you aim to share? So, I mean, you've said that basically, yeah, we spoke about fast fashion mainly,
Mm.
but what maybe some other things that you would like to add, maybe to conclude, or
Yeah.
yeah, tell me a bit more about it if you can.
I think that, well, like responsibility is a big one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Social responsibility,
All right.
right? So looking at, yeah, basically the migration crisis,
Mm-hmm.
raising awareness on that. That is a big value of ours, and that we want to share.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like responsibility in the fast fashion sense again, right? To
Mm-hmm.
consume
Of
more
course.
responsibly and
Mm-hmm.
more consciously, basically. And
Mm.
I think also what, like personally, I really value is to see the beauty in old things or
Mm-hmm.
existing things, and also just to rethink
Mm-hmm.
maybe how, like, rethink your clothes that you already have,
Mm.
right? Because I feel like we are so targeted by all these, yeah, cheap clothes that we see everywhere, and you're just like, oh my god, I want to buy that, and
Yeah,
I want this,
yeah.
and
I
this is
mean,
a nice trend.
that's the system we live in, right? So
Exactly.
it's kind of everywhere, you see ads all over the place, and you might think, "Oh my God, I need this." But maybe if we live in another way, we might not. We might realize that we don't really need it, right? That's the
Exactly.
objective, right?
Exactly, that we don't need to buy new things all the time. We have a lot of things in our closets that if you just take a look at them and you are thinking a bit creatively, you can like style them in different ways, or even make
Mm.
them new. We're aiming to do more upcycling workshops, so
Mm-hmm.
more events where we
Oh,
just have a lot
workshops.
of like
Okay.
materials, and then you can just sort of upgrade your clothes in a way, right, to make them nicer. So a lot of things that we don't
Mm.
wear a lot, you can just, by
Yeah,
changing some things,
kind
you
of
might
recycle them, but
gonna,
yeah,
yeah,
okay.
exactly.
And people, when something is scratched, not don't yeah, don't think about it, so they just throw it out, and they're
Yeah,
like, "Oh my God, yeah, this is the end of my new T-shirt, whatever," and
yeah.
that's it.
Exactly. So to repair things. So this is also part of the slow fashion movement,
Mm-hmm.
is that we recycle and we repair, and we yeah, overall rethink our decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so we're really thinking of doing maybe once a month these workshops, and basically having an open mending cafe so people can
Mm-hmm.
come, maybe with their own clothes, even fix them or upgrade them in a way, and also to bring people together,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
share ideas as well. So this is also a big value
Mm.
of us, is to, yeah,
Kind of
just,
share ideas and in those workshops and kind of broaden the minds of the people.
yeah,
So maybe in your alternatives, right? So kind of, yeah, how, sorry, what was the term for
upcycling.
reusing? Upcycling.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know about this. It's quite interesting, honestly. And also, I guess, going back to the migration theme, like, let's say open-mindedness. So maybe broaden the
yeah,
minds of the people on that field as well, so that
exactly,
we, yeah, make people understand that I guess we're all humans, right? That
exactly.
we need
Raising
to have
awareness.
empathy as well, and those people struggle, and actively participating is better than just waiting.
Exactly.
Mm.
Yeah. So raising awareness is a big thing for us as well. So, and I feel like, I mean, of course, there are a lot of awful things happening right now in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, looking at the Ukraine war, looking at, I mean, also climate change,
Of
looking at
course. Mm.
COVID, right? So all these things are big issues that we need to talk about. But at the same time, we still also need to talk about these
Mm.
issues and the issue of migration in the EU right now,
Mm-hmm.
because it is still a big problem. So we aim to
Yeah, yeah, of
raise
course.
more awareness on that as well.
Of
Yeah,
course. Yeah. So, yeah, this is a part of our duty in some way as citizens, I guess. And yeah, I completely agree with what you've just said, honestly.
yeah,
Mm. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have anything to add, I think. So, yeah, thank you so much for coming. It was really nice. And so you guys can follow them on Instagram, right? And
exactly.
so, yeah, Pop Boutique. And
PopBoutique Maastricht. Exactly.
all right.
Yes.
Then,
Thank you so much for inviting me. It
no, it was a
was a
pleasure.
pleasure. Yes. Bye bye.
Bye.